What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I just wanted to say I also saw an article that came out later today, or depending on when you see this, it was probably later on the 23rd, and it was about Wizards of the Coast having basically had to order extra copies of the 2024 Player's Handbook because there was so much demand for it. This article comes from Polygon, and I thought we would just talk about it because it's an interesting thing to have this article release on the same day, talking about how well the sales are for the 2024 Player's Handbook, knowing that corporate reorganization and layoffs happened on the same day. Let's go ahead and take a look here. So Wizards of the Coast is producing lots and lots of copies of the new Player's Handbook. How many exactly? According to Vice President of Franchise and Product Jess Lanzillo, it's exactly enough to meet the current demand, which is fairly high. The English language version of the 2024 Player's Handbook alone achieved in just 1 month what took nearly 2 years for the 2014 edition across all language versions available at that time. She said in a recent interview, suffice it to say, therefore, the new rules are plenty popular, so much so that Wizard has already ordered a second printing. Let that sink in for a second, okay? The 2024 Player's Handbook, the one that only came out a little while ago, a month ago, really, it sold more copies in its 1 month of its release than the entire 2014 Player's Handbook. And that's just the English release, rather. Just the English release of the 2024 Player's Handbook has sold more copies than the 2014 Player's Handbook did across all languages in the first 2 years of its release. I mean, if anything, that does show you how much D&D has grown in the past 10 years. But clearly, that is not a small number of books being sold. She says this is a huge, kind of unprecedented print run for us. I felt that we had aggressively planned for player demand, and the player demand has exceeded it. Nevertheless, stock remains in good supply. Various places have it. But while the initial print run has kept shelves full at local retailers and on Amazon, big box stores like Walmart and Target won't see their copies until later this year or early 2025. Localizations of the 2024 Player's Handbook will also begin to reach those markets in the same timeframe with copies in French, Italian, German, and Spanish. Lanzello said that based on the demand for the Player's Handbook, her team at Wizards has already ordered a second batch of the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide as well, which won't hit shelves until October 29th, when a special collectible version becomes available at local retailers. We know that there's a lag in between when we'd be able to restock, print, and restock with all of our retailers. So we want to make sure that there isn't rather a huge window where we're not able to meet that demand. We're working on it right now, so we feel like we're going to time that perfectly, and we'll be excited, and they're excited about it. Getting the right number of books into the distribution channel was also a challenge, especially with the new, quote, press checks that Lanzillo said she implemented following quality issues with some products in 2023. I'm assuming this was like the AI and issues we saw with Big B's, maybe some other things, but she said the production team and its United States-based printing partners for this initial wave of the product rose to the occasion. Digital adoption of the new rules is also proceeding as expected. People are still creating characters using the 2014 rules online, Lanzillo said. We want to make sure that anyone can play within whichever rules that they like, but we are seeing that the 2024 rules outstrip the 2014 rules for character creation. Not quite 2 times as many, but around there. And it's increasing kind of week over week as people get used to it. Yeah, so it sounds like basically people are still making, I'm assuming we're just using D&D Beyond metrics for this, making 2014 characters, but it's almost about double the amount of characters making, those in 2024. Lanzillo said it's a good sign that the sequence of the core rulebook rolled out with the monster manual lagging behind in early 2025 is going as expected. We're seeing the pattern go exactly how we think it would, where you've got kind of the solo curious at first, and now you're getting dungeon masters going, hey, we're going to do all of the new campaign with the 2024 rule set. Let's all start rolling up characters using those rules. So it's a continuous spectrum of adoption, which is pretty great. Again, kind of hard to roll up a whole thing when you have the sort of power creep, if you will, of 2024 characters being significantly stronger with not having access to the new monsters who are going to be able to balance those player features not available until 2025. The next hurdle for the brand will be crossing what appears to be a bit of a content gulf through the holiday and into the summer of 2025. The next big release after the Monster Manual in 2025 will be an Unnamed Dragon anthology, which Lanzillo said will include encounters in the style of the previous anthologies, like Candle Key Mysteries and Journey Through the Radiant Citadel. They're capsule dungeons with dragons in them for you to drop into your campaign. We really want to give players the option to not only experience the previous amazing campaign materials and adventures we've already published with the new rules and go, oh my god, this is amazing, but also show them, hey, here's some ways that adventures and campaigns can blow out even further with these drop-in dungeons. Lanzello said fans should be on the lookout for additional details on how older campaigns can be made backwards compatible with the new rules, especially as those rules apply to high-level monsters that have revised versions on the way. It's hoped that the third-party digital content, including fan-made content in the Greyhawk setting, which was recently unlocked by Wizards for monetization in the Dungeon Masters Guild, will also help fill the gap. More than anything, Lanzillo said she was happy for the sense of the continuity that this year's rules revision has given to the global community. We want to reward rather than punish people for their knowledge and their investment that they've made, which is why the original 5th edition rules from 2014 are still available and relevant. We want to make sure that fans feel like the past decade they've invested wasn't meaningless. We're super, super grateful for how successful 5th edition has been, and all that's because of the fans, and the last thing we would want to do is invalidate all of their love for the game and that they've learned and that they've taught others. Dungeon Master Guide will be available on November 12th. Yeah, it is interesting to, in one side, talk about how successful it is and how much you're going to have to keep ordering extra prints, but then to know you're also doing layoffs, that layoff information and this article drop on the same day is kind of odd choice to me, but either way. I mean, again, for all of the people out there, in the comment section or otherwise that are saying, they're boycotting 2024, they're not doing it, it's not doing well. Apparently, sales wise, it's doing quite well, according to Wizards of the Coast, but apparently not well enough to survive layoffs. So, who knows? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments down below. I'll see you all next time.